of Ready Row USA. Welcome to another exciting episode of our podcast, and I'm here waiting for our panelist, Mark Wilson. I think he's on now. Hi, Mark.
Hi. Can you hear me okay, Charlotte?
Oh, boy. Yeah, you're blasting. Thanks for coming on and welcome.
Thank you.
This is one of your favorite topics, I think.
Let me get
the slideshow up. And if you want me to run the Google Earth, like if you want to show one of your favorite places, I can search on that. So
whatever you want to do, Charlotte, you're in charge.
Oh, I like to think I am. But anyway, welcome to Ready Row USA. Me and Mark, we're here to talk about rowing the world, going global, whatever you want to call it. It's one of my favorite things to do, and probably Mark's too. But it's just like it enriches our travel experience so much. Even if I'm traveling with my family, they go do other stuff, and I go rowing, like in Amsterdam or Scotland when we went. But Mark is an expert because he takes trips to Europe and elsewhere, I think. But we will be touching on some of his favorite topics or locations soon. I am the host and producer, and we're part of the Rowing.Chat network. Ready Row USA is the name of our show, but we have several others in the network, and Rebecca Caroe is our executive producer. She kind of directs all those things and has some really good information on these podcasts that are growing number of podcasts. We have wonderful sponsors, and they make it possible for us to be here. So our first one, we're going to take a couple breaks and highlight the other sponsors, but our first one is Rose and Thorn Active Bras. Really wonderful way to bring confidence into the boat. But you can get your discount if you go to Rowing.Chat/sponsors, or just write down, if you see the visual here, if you're not listening, it's row 10% discount, roseandthorn.com. So thank you, Rose and Thorn. You're wonderful. This is kind of what got me interested in this topic, is my friend Nancy Kellner from Minneapolis. And you might know that rowing club, Mark.
I've been there.
Yeah. It's beautiful. And she just said, like you find this little green door and you go down and see all this wonderful stuff. So why don't we launch into your kind of outline and
yeah. So what I kind of put together with this, and everybody, this is kind of thinking about it in a big picture and trying to narrow it down. But first of all, what I think people want to do is decide on some of the basics, and those include, where do you want to go, when do you want to go, who wants to go with you, and how do you want to travel. And I think those biggest picture things are really important to kind of get you started. Obviously, there's rowing all over the world, and it depends on where you want to go, what your time schedule is, how long you want to go. Also, would be another criteria that you want to put into your matrix. But obviously, where, when, who, and how, and those are all really important questions. Rowing with a friend that you row with once an hour, or 3 times a week, or is it a family member, like Charlotte said, maybe you want to go and just row by yourself, or do you want to get in with a group and enjoy new friends who have common interests and common activities, wanting to get out and see the world. So I think those basics are really important. Some of the basics also include, how are you going to travel? Are you going to fly into a place, for example, Milan? Are you going to fly direct from the East Coast of the U.S. to Milan? Easy flight and then just rent a car, or are you going to take a train? Are you going to use Uber? Or are you going to be able to get someplace relatively quickly?
Right.
Or do you want to fly multiple stopovers and try to go a little deeper someplace, or someplace like New Zealand or Australia? Obviously takes a lot longer to get to from anywhere in the United States than Europe or Mexico City is another great example of someplace relatively easy to get to. But all of those things you want to kind of think about before you start saying, oh, I want to go to here. Maybe there's someplace else that might be really interesting to visit and travel to as well.
One of my favorite things to do is just to like jump on Google Earth and just kind of plug in these locations that I've heard about. And the people that are just listening on the SoundCloud or Stitcher won't see this image, but it's just Google Earth. Everybody uses that, and I plugged in. Is it Valence, Hungary? Yeah, where the World Rowing Masters Championships are being held in September, and it's just like it's so fun to see the location. There's the lake, and you can see what the course is like, and you can, if you're going to compete, it might help you as well.
Right, and those are all good things to do, and then also understanding how you're going to get there. I think the idea of going someplace oftentimes is really intriguing to somebody, but then they start figuring out the how, and I think that's part of what I like to do is put all the logistics together and make sure that people, that either if I'm helping somebody go somewhere or if I'm starting to lead a trip, I really do think about the how. For example, last year I took a group to Bled, Slovenia, and you could fly into Ljubljana. Usually that was via Munich or someplace else or Paris, or you had to fly to Zagreb, and then that was a little bit longer drive, and you had to cross the border. But so crossing borders is a whole other thing that you do want to take into account, especially going to someplace like Hungary or someplace outside of the EU. It can be a little bit more consuming in time just at that border crossing. So there's considerations.
These touring companies, like, I mean, when you organize one, do you arrange all the flight stuff or like all the food?
I did that once and I don't want to do it again. Really, people are the people that are going to travel on a thing like this, I give them all the details that they need to get there. I make them think about these kind of things, but oftentimes people want to use points, they want to use their frequent flyer miles, or they want to extend either on the front end or the back end of the trip. So we make it with our organization, with All American Rowing Camp, and when we set a camp date, we tell them, get to this airport, and if you need help getting from that airport to the hotel, we will be more than happy to assist. But oftentimes people are extending the trip either side of the actual camp. But if you're traveling by yourself, you do certainly want to be thinking about the time involved, and sometimes the cheapest flight may look really good, but it may not really be the best for you based upon the time that you have available to get somewhere. So those
and what if
flights
you're traveling somewhere? Sorry.
I was just going to say, oftentimes you'll see a flight that might be $400 to wherever from the U.S., but it's a 20-hour endeavor rather than a 6 or 8 hour endeavor, and that loses you a whole day, and it's really frustrating. And then the more connections, obviously, the more opportunities for something to go wrong. So I think the whole idea of how you get there is a big part of it, but then how you're going to travel within the country or within the countries is also important to really consider. Renting a car in Europe is really very easy as long as you're comfortable, usually with a manual, but most of the companies now have automatic drives that you can rent for a little bit more money.
I was going to ask you, so if you're traveling just for business, that's often what I do. And then, I'm thinking I'd like to go rowing. I've had really good luck just calling up a rowing club.
Sure. So that's the whole thing. If you're going to do it yourself, you kind of think about, what do I want to do? And you can do exactly that. I think picking a point on the map, or if you're already going to be going to Paris, or if you're going to be going to London, or you're going to be going to some other place for business or whatever, having those time and trying to get your company to help you get an extra day in, because it will take some time. It's not, it'll take a little time to go to the site and get acquainted, and they may not be rowing when you think they are. That picture that you were just showing was actually the Werther Sea. I took that picture last year when we were in southern Austria. That's from a top of the world's tallest wooden tower. It's a wooden. I took pictures of the tower, but I didn't put those into your screen. But this is the Werther Sea in southern Austria, just over the Slovenian border.
I want to go there right now.
I mean, well, we're gonna take a group there in October of 2020. So if people are looking or listening, I'm gonna be going there for a race event in October of 2020 with a group. So, but the point is, you can do it yourself. You can look at Google or any internet search and figure out how or where you might want to go. But then it takes a little time to locate the right person and get those things kind of situated. Everybody, though, is almost everybody is very interested in hosting people. So if you are thinking about going somewhere on your own, do not feel intimidated at all about reaching out directly to the club.
Yeah, they love it. Just be kind of like my friend Jeff Cronick. He rows at all over, but he was recently in Singapore, and he called up the Easter Rowing Club, and they were just like so nice. And he just sent me a text, find clubs via Google, email, tell them about yourself, and be specific with the dates you want to row. If you don't hear back from them, be persistent, but also be very polite. You're asking them for a favor after all, and make it easy for them to host you. If possible, make a donation to the club after you've rowed with them, and always follow up with a thank you note. So,
that is excellent advice. Those are absolutely perfect words, and I would 100% agree. That was great thoughts there from your friend. I think the thoughtfulness and the more appreciative you are of them giving you that favor will make the likelihood of them also wanting to host the next person, so. And
I wanted to share this image because this is like one of my favorite pictures of all time. It's not like from the US perspective. It's in Florida at Mark's rowing camp, but it's like there's this large alligator behind me who decided, and Jim Dietz was coaching, and we were just having this mellow row, this alligator. I looked over, and so he took a picture, and then I started drifting closer to the weeds, and then the alligator decided
you were a little close. Yeah.
So I was glad I had a professional service at that time, in case the alligator decided my boat was like a snack. So But anyway.
Yeah. I think that's pretty cool, and and those are things that you do have that people will help you with. This is a photograph of a group that I took to Croatia this summer, and we had 9 scullers. And the thing here is that people had great equipment. So that's another thing you want to consider and manage if you are looking for a professional service to take you or help you arrange trips, is the type of equipment. We see all sorts of different levels of equipment when you go to Europe or elsewhere. Singapore, I'm sure, is the same thing, or anywhere else in the world. So just be aware that you may not be rowing in the world's fastest shell, but if you ask the question, and quantify who you are as a rower, you may end up with a little bit better equipment than the bottom
and
shelf.
Do you you always you have these relationships with these rowing clubs, and so you line up the certain number of boats that you need when you're going on a organized,
and not only the right number, but also the right size. So it's important to remember that you are either a lightweight or a heavyweight or something like that. And it does matter, obviously, if you're going to enjoy yourself. If you're just going for a one-time row and you want to be on the there in Florence, like your opening photograph, and you want to row under that beautiful bridge and blah blah blah, it may not matter. If you're going for a week somewhere, then you're rowing in you want to be rowing in the best equipment and the most comfortable equipment that you can be in. So it just kind of depends again on what you're looking for and what you're trying to accomplish with your rowing overseas.
Mark, I'm getting a little echo. I don't know if you have headphones, but
can we try that?
I mean, it's not bad. So anyway, I just get a little.
Put my earmuffs on.
Mostly when I try and talk over the top of you. Anyway, we are taking a little break here for another sponsor. This is a wonderful book by Annie Vernon, who's an elite athlete, and it's for elite athletes, but many, I mean, all of the strategies in it are relevant for any rower or any athlete, really. So you can get a signed copy if you go to bloomsbury.com. And do you know Annie Vernon, Mark?
No, I don't, but I probably should read the book.
Yeah, I would recommend it. Okay, where's this?
That's in Croatia as well. That was this summer as well. A little town called Zaton, Zaton, and this is at the very end of the race course that they've held. They currently hold different regattas there out of Šibenik, Croatia, and then you head down about 10K, 12K from our launch site. So we had a nice long row up to here. This beautiful little marina at the end of the river. So, but yeah, there's lots of places to go. I think one of the things too that people want to think about if you're going for an extended rowing adventure some places, what else are you going to do? What we try to do with our camps is to do rowing in the morning and then exploring in the afternoon. Whether or not you're going with a professional service or on your own, I think making sure that you manage your time well and don't try to cram too much in. I've listened to an awful lot of traveling shows, Rick Steves and those kind of things. I listen to a lot of those kind of things.
I know, they make me anxious.
I think he says the same thing. I think what he says is what we try to follow is that don't try to do too much. I think that's one of the most important things that people can do. So what we try to do is we do our rowing in the morning. We'll do 2 rows in the morning, video. So you are getting coaching. You are getting your technique worked on. You're getting a little workout in. You're seeing some fantastic water views, which oftentimes people don't see. Traveling to Florence, you're going to see what every other million person sees when you go to Florence. But if you're rowing in Florence or if you're on the water, then you see a different.
I know, it's like when I rode in Amsterdam. I mean, this picture actually, if you're watching on YouTube, it looks like the Amsterdam setting where I rode, but I don't know.
And that happens to be actually in Wichita, Kansas. So yeah,
we rode past the place where, and my friend who is a Dutch person, and we went out in a double. She said that's where Rembrandt did his painting. Or he would do his outdoor painting. And then, so we're going down a little farther in the Amstel River, and we rode past this houseboat with a 57 Chevy on top. It's like, you wouldn't see that from the road. It's like, it's so cool. It was just cool.
So once your rowing's over, then I think the idea of going off and having one activity in the afternoon, make it something that's a destination, make it something that's exciting for yourself, your family, your non-rowing counterparts, travel partners, and make it something that's really interesting and fun. But don't rush it. I think that's the thing. When you're on vacation, you want to enjoy yourselves. You want to make sure that you're having a good time. You want to see new things, but you don't need to rush. I think that's what's really important. Sit down halfway through your tour if you're going through a city situation, and sit down at a little street side cafe and have a coffee, have a beer, have whatever. Just enjoy the people watching, and it really is enjoyable. And then that's going to make you more ready for the afternoon or the evening time. And
that's probably good advice for any. Sorry, I was just zooming in on a map there, but for any, like, for someone like me, I tend to just think I'm going to do everything.
Yeah,
that's just really.
I think that's the American way, Charlotte, and I think that's what I'm trying to suggest is that when you go to Europe, especially, slow down, enjoy yourself. We're taking a group to. This is a great picture. If you're not seeing this, this was after 2 rows in the morning. We did about 20K in the morning. Then we went up into the interior of Croatia. We went to about a 1,200-year-old castle-y fortress thing built by the Romans way up in the way up in the middle of Croatia. It was about an hour. It was about an hour drive away, so not too far. And that's one of the things that we try to do is to make our transit times relatively short. We don't want to be in the car for 2 hours in the afternoon one way to get to something that is cool, but it also just takes time, and people want to see things. So this was after that trip up into the mountains. We spent about an hour and a half. We went to a waterfall nearby. We actually had an absolutely fantastic afternoon, and then we made a circle loop and we traveled back down a different route, which is also important. So rather than just going up and back the same road, we saw new things along the way, and then we came down to this beautiful little setting and had a cocktail before dinner. And so those kind of things, just taking your time, enjoying yourselves, taking a stroll is important.
Is your focus more on the coaching than some other services? I mean, are some just more like just
I think so. Yeah, I think that we've been told that from other people who have gone on other tours. A tour is more of like, you're just going to go row and you're going to go see, but the coaching it really isn't part of it. In our situation, we really try to coach people, looks just like they would be coached here in the United States, while they're in a new venue. And I think that's one of the things.
We have a couple of questions that I wanted to get to also.
Great.
Yeah. International Directory of Rowing Clubs, and I have used OarSpotter. But I find that it's doesn't always cover everything that's out there.
I think there's several things. I think the World Rowing site, where you actually go to worldrowing.org, which is the FISA organization internationally, there are a ton. You can link by country and then go into the clubs. I think that's one of the best places, and I think those sites through World Rowing are probably the most up to date too. So your contact information, the websites, and so on, will be very up to date. The other thing is just pick a town and then just simply use Google and just put in rowing Florence or rowing.
Yeah, that's what I did on the Google Earth thing I showed earlier.
Munich.
Yeah. So this thing, that was like whatever the name of that place is. Well, I just plugged in Ponte Vecchio because it's right near Ponte Vecchio, which sounds like a location for a Fellini movie or something. But but anyway, so we have another question.
The English question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whether or not people are going to speak English or not, that is a good one. In prior to going, then using what I do is I write an email in English, and then I translate it with Google Translator below. So I show both in the same email. That's what I try to do, and I think that's very helpful, because then the person, you're going to assume that they speak some English, but some of the detail may not be they may not be able to get.
That's exactly what I did in Amsterdam. I did that because I thought, oh my God, what if Google Translate is just way off base?
Right.
So I put the English up there, and I knew.
Yeah, and then I think the places where you're going, where it's a little more, quote unquote international city. So not just, in Šibenik, the coaches there did not speak very much English, so it was a little limiting. But in some place like Milan, then they're going to speak a little bit more English.
And if you go to a club and you go out with a coach, so you're not going with a tour like you or a coach, are they going to say the rowing terms, and do you have to learn all the port and starboard? And
that's one of those things.
What is Jim Dietz's thing? It's like Schlagfrau or something.
Right. I would try to not want to be coached in Italian, right, or in Spanish. Spanish, maybe most people can understand, but maybe Dutch or Norwegian or something. I would not want to be coached there. So I would want to make sure, if I was going to Norway, for example, and I wanted to row in Norway, I would want to probably go out first with somebody in a team boat, and I think that would be probably the safest and most enjoyable situation. That's actually what I did in Zagreb. Is I got in a quad
Yeah.
with some local guys there, and it was great. So I didn't have to worry about worrying about where we were going, the traffic pattern, all of that sort of stuff. And I just rode, which was really very enjoyable. And then if you're going out in a single, just making sure that they know when you're going to leave, when you're going to come back, and ask for where you can go, and just make sure that you're maybe using a little bit of normal international rules of staying to the right and watching your traffic patterns.
When I rode at the London Rowing Club in the Thames, they wouldn't let me go out in a single.
Yeah,
because
it's probably for your safety. It's really for your safety.
Oh yeah,
right?
I mean, there's like so much commercial traffic, and then there's the tide. It's like 15 feet or something. It was just crazy. So, but it was so much fun. It was really fun. But anyway, we have another question now.
I know. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, just we have 5 more minutes. Okay. International rowing trips, if I want to compete. Someone was asking about that. So I know the Masters rowing is coming up in September, but
sure, there's lots of other events though. So there's Masters events, just like here in the United States. There's Masters events all the time over in Europe in various locations, and just planning ahead. And if you have a small group and you can arrange, maybe for a quad or a double and so on, I think that's definitely the way to go. Or ask the club that you're traveling to if you could intersperse in with a boat or two, a mixed boat or something.
And World Rowing.
There are so many. Yeah, worldrowing.org would have all of the big events, but like this event that I want to take a group to next October, that's a relatively small regional regatta, but it's a 15K event on this Werther Sea, and people come from all over Austria and Slovenia, and probably Switzerland as well. So there's lots of different things to do.
There's a cool one called Regatta Odiana or something in Portugal that they've been it's like a 15K as well, I think.
Yeah, I think it's so just what people want to do. Going with a small group though would be probably a lot of fun. Yeah,
for sure. I wanted to mention our third sponsor, Just Strong. It's technical athletic clothing for women, and if you've ever ordered unisex clothing, you will appreciate Just Strong because it actually fits, and you can use our discount code RebCaroe10, RebCaroe10 at juststrong.com. Thank you guys for sponsoring. We really appreciate it. Makes me and Mark able to show our faces and voices on the podcast. So thank you so much. What did you want to wrap up with a little thought here, Mark? Or
I guess my thought, or what was it? Mark my words. That's what you came
up with. Mark my words.
So
yes.
So clever, Charlotte. You are such a clever woman. So mark my words. I think mark my words was keep your eyes out of the boat. Too many times coaches say keep your eyes in the boat, and I'm going to be the anti-establishment and say keep your eyes out of the boat. It just rowing is such a beautiful activity, and we do it in such beautiful locations that there are many times during your row that you should really keep your eyes out of the boat. So that's my mark my words for today.
I totally agree. And I had one about competition because we're in the middle of regatta season, and I feel so bad when I don't do well. I know it's like I'm just trying to convince myself to, just measure it against myself, and enjoy the just enjoy the run, enjoy the testing yourself and challenging yourself. So,
right.
I don't know.
Good thoughts as well. Absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, we are wrapping up here, and Mark, I appreciate your coming on, and I think this is another topic for way more conversation, but we appreciate all our listeners and viewers at Ready Row USA, part of the Rowing.Chat network. Our sponsors, Just Strong, Rose and Thorn, and Mind Games, the book by Annie Vernon. And we'll see you next Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. You can always listen on Stitcher and SoundCloud. And we are signing off for now. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Charlotte. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Appreciate it.
Likewise. Yeah.